Hello Internet, and welcome back to my reviews of the Spider-Man movies leading up to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Today we're going to be looking at the very first reboot of the Spider-Man movies, The Amazing Spider-Man. We were supposed to get a fourth Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie, but that got scrapped. Instead, Sony and Columbia Pictures opted to reboot the Spider-Man film series, and thus we have The Amazing Spider-Man. Released on July 3rd, 2012, and directed by Mark Webb, The Amazing Spider-Man stars Andrew Garfield in his first of 3 movies as Spider-Man. The third, of course, being Spider-Man No Way Home. We also have Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy, Sally Field as Aunt May, Martin Sheen as Uncle Ben, and Rhys Ifans as Dr. Kirk Connors, also known as the Lizard, who reprises the role in Spider-Man No Way Home. We also have Dennis Leary as Gwen's father, George Stacy. We saw the same character in Spider-Man 3 when he revealed to Tobey Maguire and Rosemary Harris the truth about Uncle Ben's death. But here in The Amazing Spider-Man, he has a much larger role. Martin Sheen and Sally Field were alright as Uncle Ben and Aunt May, but I honestly prefer the ones featured in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. Just the fact that we had a younger Aunt May kind of threw me off at first. But I really like Sally Field's performance as Aunt May. Also, we get to see Peter's parents play an important role here, but they were never seen nor mentioned in the Sam Raimi movies or Tom Holland's Spider-Man movies. It starts off with a movie score that kind of threw me off at first because I was so used to hearing Danny Elfman's iconic Spider-Man score. But the more I saw this movie, I grew used to it, and I liked hearing it. But it was absent in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which I will cover next. We see Peter Parker as a little boy playing hide-and-seek with his parents, when his father Richard's office gets ransacked. So Peter's parents pack their things, including important documents, such as the decay rate algorithm, which allowed Dr. Connors to transform into the Lizard, and to try to turn the entire city of New York into mutant lizards. They sent Peter to live with Uncle Ben and Aunt May, where he would live for the rest of his childhood. Years later, we see Peter attending Midtown Science High School, where he often skateboards around the halls, and he would often get bullied by Flash Thompson. Like I said in my review of the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie, the variation of Flash Thompson featured in The Amazing Spider-Man was a straight-up douche. And then we get my favorite scene in the entire movie.
Take the picture.
Put him down! Eugene!
No! I will not bloody put him down! David deserved it after all when he said, "I love Eugene." I mean, I know he was talking about his girlfriend, Gina Cook, but he said, "I love Eugene." It's like... I don't even know where the bloody hell to start with that. I mean, come on. Come the bloody hell on. When David said, "I love Eugene," I mean, I know he's talking about Gene. When he said, "I love Eugene," it's like, why would David be in love with me? I mean, I've got law for bloody fuck's sake. Thank you for that, Eugene. I really don't know who's perfect for Peter Parker, Mary Jane or Gwen Stacy, or Zendaya, but they are all great love interests to Peter. In fact, there was a time where Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone dated in real life. The two of them had excellent chemistry on screen as Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy. Peter lives with Uncle Ben and Aunt May, like I said, and it's not the best setting, unlike the one featured in the Sam Raimi movies. Peter finds a briefcase in the basement, and according to Uncle Ben, it belonged to Richard. And we see that he was friends with Dr. Connors, so he does research on Bing instead of Google. I don't know why, but he finds that Dr. Connors works at Oscorp, so he sneaks into Oscorp, where Gwen is leading a tour of interns. He even steals a badge from the reception desk, and he comes face to face with Dr. Connors, who has only one arm, and wants to regenerate the arm that has been amputated above the elbow. So Peter then sneaks further into the facility, where he comes across a room filled to the brim with genetically modified spiders, kind of like the one that bit Tobey Maguire, while one bites Andrew Garfield as he's leaving Oscorp. This is where Peter starts developing spider-like abilities, when he's on the subway home when he accidentally ends up hitting people with his spider sense. Soon afterwards, he fumbles around the bathroom, and while he's doing research on spiders, the keys to the keyboard stick to his fingers. The next morning, during gym class, Peter humiliates Flash, or should I say, don't even think about it, David. I know how much you like to make jokes about my name, so don't you bloody do it! Sorry about that, folks. You know how Eugene gets. Oh, son of a Queen Elizabeth, Doctor Who, TARDIS, Harry Potter, Wallace and Gromit, Monty Python, bloody ah! Peter accidentally breaks the glass on one of the basketball hoops, and he gets in trouble with the principal, thus having Uncle Ben pick him up from school. Soon afterwards, he makes plans with Gwen to have Branzino with her family, but that doesn't happen until later. Soon he tests his powers out while riding on his skateboard, something that neither Tobey Maguire nor Tom Holland did in their respective universes. Instead of picking up Aunt May from work, Peter visits Dr. Connors at Oscorp so he can help him with a serum that regenerates limbs. But he is missing the decay rate algorithm, which Peter has access to thanks to his father's notes. So he and Dr. Connors test the serum on a 3-legged mouse, and his missing leg is regenerated. But later on, the rat turns into a mutant lizard and escapes containment. Peter then comes home, where Uncle Ben reminds him that he forgot to pick up Aunt May, and he's pretty pissed. But Aunt May tells Peter that he doesn't have to worry about it. Tensions rise when Peter brings up his father, but after he tells him that with great power comes great responsibility, but he words it differently. You're a lot like your father. You really are, Peter, and that's a good thing. Like your father, you live by a philosophy, a principle, really. He believed that if you could do good things for other people, you had a moral obligation to do those things. That's what's at stake here. Not choice, responsibility. However, in Spider-Man No Way Home, Andrew Garfield claims that his version of Uncle Ben said, with great power comes great responsibility. But that's complete and utter bullshit. When Tobey Maguire's Uncle Ben said the full quote, and so did Tom Holland's Aunt May before she dies from her injuries following a fight with the Green Goblin. Peter then storms out of the house, breaking a door in the process. Uncle Ben goes out to look for him before tragedy strikes. Peter tries to buy a bottle of chocolate milk, but he's 2 pennies short. At the same time, a robber steals cash from the register, and Andrew Garfield missed the part where that's his problem. Except Andrew Garfield worded it differently, and it's only Tobey Maguire who said it. So the robber runs into Uncle Ben when the robber drops his gun. Uncle Ben tries to fight off the robber, but he's shot and killed. As gut-wrenching as it was to see Uncle Ben die on screen again, I feel like Cliff Robertson's Uncle Ben death was more gut-wrenching than that of Martin Sheen's, but it was still painful to watch either way. Enraged, Peter wants to find more about the robber who shot him, so he suits up as a vigilante to try to hunt him down and get justice. At the same time, he builds himself a pair of mechanical web shooters, which Tom Holland also uses to shoot webs. But Tobey Maguire's webs work a whole lot differently. The masked vigilante is dubbed Spider-Man, and he gets the attention of Police Captain George Stacy, who is Gwen's father. And we get some pretty funny quips from Spider-Man when he's dealing with a car thief, which Spider-Man is known for. And apparently Aunt May wants Peter to come home with eggs, which eventually happens at the end of the movie. And let's talk about his Spider-Man suit. I'm not the biggest fan of the eyes or the overall design. I prefer the one that was featured in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man No Way Home. Captain Stacy is not a fan of Spider-Man, and eventually wants him caught and prosecuted. And he states that when Peter's invited to have Branzina with Gwen's family. But on the rooftop of her apartment, Peter reveals to her that he is Spider-Man, and they share a kiss. And that's when there's commotion going on at a bridge. Dr. Connors' serum for regenerating his arm works, but there is a costly side effect. Turns him into a lizard, and thus he is dubbed the Lizard. He is pressured by another Oscorp employee to start human trials immediately, but he doesn't want to put the lives of innocent people at stake. So Connors is fired from Oscorp, and he tests the serum on himself, thus he turns into the Lizard. He then attacks a bridge, and Spider-Man saves the day. He even removes his Spider-Man mask to save a little boy named Jack from a burning car dangling off the side of the bridge. Peter realizes that Dr. Connors is working with cross-species genetics, and deduces that he is the Lizard. So he tries to report Connors to the police, but they don't believe him. But they try to find everything in their files about Dr. Connors. So Peter goes into the sewers and plays a bubble popping game on his phone. And this is the time where smartphones were slowly coming to be. At the same time, he sets up cameras to see if he can catch the Lizard. They find the sewers, and Spider-Man is injured. That's when the Lizard learns that Peter Parker is indeed Spider-Man. So Spider-Man takes shelter at Gwen's apartment, where she rambles on about wanting to live in a chocolate house when she was a little kid. That detail probably wasn't all that important, but she agrees to help Peter stop the Lizard from running amok. The big difference between Emma Stone's portrayal of Gwen Stacy and Mary Jane Watson from the Sam Raimi movies is that Gwen actually gets off her ass and helps Spider-Man with his missions, while Mary Jane is just a helpless damsel in distress. That's another reason why I prefer Emma Stone over Bryce Dallas Howard as Gwen Stacy. In Spider-Man 3, Gwen Stacy served no purpose to the plot, other than to create tension between Peter and Mary Jane. Such is the case with the Upside-Down Kiss and the infamous jazz club scene. In The Amazing Spider-Man and The Amazing Spider-Man 2, she's not a damsel in distress, unlike Mary Jane. She actually teams up with Peter to help him with important Spider-Man missions. The Lizard then attacks Peter and Gwen's school, all in an attempt to look for Peter. So then he suits up as Spider-Man and fights the Lizard once again, while Stanley works as the school librarian. And then Captain Stacy comes in and orders a manhunt for both Spider-Man and the Lizard. So the Lizard escapes from the school and uses his lizard serum to turn people into mutant lizards. The police corner Spider-Man, and Captain Stacy gets ready to remove Spider-Man's mask. And then he takes out the other officers. And that's when Captain Stacy realizes that Spider-Man is in fact Gwen's boyfriend, Peter Parker. Lizard wants to go to the top of Oscorp Tower and release a chemical cloud that turns the entire city into mutant lizards. But Gwen has to go into the tower and cook up an antidote. Once Peter makes it all the way over to the tower by swinging across a row of cranes, he successfully disperses the antidote across the entire city, and Dr. Connors is returned to normal. In the process, Captain Stacy dies from wounds sustained by the Lizard, and in his dying breath, he tells Peter to stay away from Gwen, and that as long as he is Spider-Man, he would just put her in more danger. Peter does not attend the funeral, and Gwen is heartbroken when she realizes that her father wanted Peter to stay away from her. Then we hear a voicemail from Uncle Ben that inspires him to become the hero that he was meant to be. And then we get a mid-credit scene, something that the Sam Raimi movies did not have. In this scene, Dr. Connors is in jail, and he is visited by an unidentified man who asks if Peter knows the truth about his father, and he wants Peter to be left alone. And that's the last we see of the Lizard until Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm giving The Amazing Spider-Man a 7 out of 10. At first, I felt the concept of rebooting Spider-Man wouldn't work out, but surprisingly enough, it did. I really like Andrew Garfield's take on Spider-Man, but I wouldn't say he's better than Tobey Maguire. Tobey Maguire will always be my favorite, with Tom Holland taking second place. I really like the musical score, and how it has a much different tone than what we got with the Sam Raimi movies. Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone had excellent chemistry on screen as Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy. However, there are some plot points that weren't exactly my cup of tea. I'm just gonna say right off the bat that the flaws in this movie were nowhere near as bad as the ones that The Amazing Spider-Man 2 had. Stay tuned for my upcoming review of The Amazing Spider-Man 2 coming soon. Until then, I'll see you all next time.